Operators. Hands up who knows what an operator is. Yep, that's the person that connects your phone call. Scripts have operators too. Nice ones. In shell scripting, operators are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulus, and we'll talk about these during this video. Now in our last video on loops, we briefly touched on using the set/a command to perform simple arithmetic. Okay, so let's go and open Notepad and recap. So we'll paste in a simple script here that just adds a couple of numbers together. Alright, so if we run this script, we're expecting to get back 10 plus 8, which is 18. Alright, so we'll save this and we'll give it a name, and I'll just call this one op.bat, and I'll save this in my scripts directory. And now we'll go and open up a command prompt and we'll just simply run our script. Okay, and we get back 18. Now by the way, let's go back to our script here and we'll simply remove the /a, and we'll go and try that again just to see what we get. And this time you can now see that our variable of total now evaluates to 10 plus 8 and not 18. And that's because without the /a switch we had up here before, our environment variable of total is now simply treating 10 plus 8 as a string and not as a calculation. Now I'm not about to go through examples of adding, multiplying, subtracting and so forth, because they're all pretty self-explanatory. Once you know one, you know the other. Unless of course you don't know anything about maths, then I'm afraid I can't help you. But I will point out that if you want to use multiplication, you'll use the asterisk. For division, you'll use a /, and you'll find this on your question mark key, and for modulus, you use the % symbol. Now modulus, by the way, is the process of dividing two numbers and returning only the remainder. Now even though we have a video dedicated to the if command, let's take a look at using arithmetic with our if commands. Okay, let's say, and we have had this request from a couple of members by the way, that we want to produce a list of files numbered 1 through to 100. In fact, the actual request we had was to create a list of links to URLs where image files were stored. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, as always, we'll leave our first line as our @echo_off statement. Now, on the next line, we'll need to set a counter from where we wish to start counting. So let's say the first image in the list is called image underscore followed by the number 1, and we'll assume that for the sake of the argument that the file is a JPEG. Okay, so we'll type in set/a, as it's arithmetic that we want. Now we'll need to provide a variable name. Now I'll just call this one no, short for number. Okay, so we've got a variable for our numbers, but if our first file name is image_1.jpg, then the number 1 would be the first image. So we'll set our counter to equal 0 and we'll start counting up. Okay, now we're going to do something that we haven't yet done in this course, and that is to set a label. A label is simply a spot you define in your script where you can jump back to if you need to. Now we define a label by using a colon and then a name. So we simply type in a colon, and I'll use the word number to make it easy to refer to later on. Now that we've defined a point where we can return to, let's move on in our script. Alright, now up here in our script, we already set our number variable to 0, so each time we run through the loop we're about to create, we're going to need to increment this number by a certain value each time. So let's do that. So again, we'll type set/a, and then we'll need to reset our no variable to whatever it currently is, and then add 1 each time. So we'd write that like this. Now we know that the variable no is going to be set to 0, and of course we know that because we set that ourselves up here. So now with this line, we're telling our script to set no to whatever value no currently is, and then add 1. So each time we run through this loop, we need to add 1. So the next time through, this number here would be 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then so on. Okay, now when we run through this loop, we need to do something. So why not echo the value out to the screen? Okay, that's a good idea, so I will. So we'll type in echo %no %. Okay, now the first time we have this script run, we should have the value of 1 here in our variable of no. But what about the next time round? Will it be 2? Well, as it stands, no, it won't be anything. The script will just exit right here. And that's not what we want. What we need to tell our script is that if the value contained in our no variable is less than 100, in other words, it hasn't finished, then it needs to go back up to the top here and add 1 to the previous number until it's reached 100. So some sort of loop is obviously needed. So we'll need to add in a new line. So what we'll say is, if our variable of no is less than, now with shell scripting, the less than operator when dealing with numbers isn't the symbol less than. It's written in words like you see here. So for less than, we'd use LSS. For greater than, we'd use GTR. And there's a few others. EQU is equal to, NEQ is not equal to, LEQ is less than or equal to, and GEQ is greater than or equal to. Alright, so we'll need to use LSS for less than. So if our %no% is less than what? Well, we decided that there was 100 images we needed in the list, so we'll say it's 100. Okay, if it's less than 100, do what? Well, we actually need to go back to our script and repeat it. Okay, if it's less than 100, we will go to our label number. And this is where our label does come into play. By specifying this label earlier up here in the script, we've marked a point in our script where we can return when we ask it to by using the goto label command. Alright, as long as the number that's stored in %no% is less than 100, we're going to keep looping back up here to our label number and keep running through our script, incrementing our number by 1 each time. So what happens when we reach 100? Well, nothing actually. The script will just exit. Alright, well we'll give it a go. So we'll go to our command prompt and we'll simply reissue our op.bat. And there you can see numbers 1 to 100 whizzing up the screen. Now a point to make, do we really need this set command up the top here telling us that our no variable is set to 0? Well, yes and no. You see, the first time we run this script, because we're declaring a new variable up here, its value will already be 0. So on the first run, our script will work just fine. But what about the second time? Okay, well, why don't we try it? What we'll do is we'll come over here and we'll comment out the line by using a double colon, and we'll save it again, and we'll just clear the screen here and rerun our script. Okay, well there you can see the value is now 101. Why? Because the last time we used it, we finished with 100 and we never cleared the variable. So make sure you remember this, as it's a good practice to declare your variables and set them to where you expect them to start first, because if you don't, you might have problems. Now if we simply type in set/a no equals 0 and then run our script again, you'll see that this time it's worked because we just reset the value. But who wants to go and do that? So the rule is set your variables where you expect them to start. It's a good rule to follow, trust me. Alright, we're going places now. But you might recall that the actual question one of our members asked us was how they can produce a page of hyperlinks to 100 images. Okay, well there's really only one line we need to change in our script for that, and that's our echo line. Firstly, let's think about HTML. In order to output an HTML file that contains real hyperlinks you can click on, we'll need to add some HTML tags to our output. And if you recall from our earlier videos, when we use shell scripts, you'll need to escape out some special characters that HTML uses. Okay, so after our echo command here, we'll need to add a link to a URL where the image should be stored. Okay, so we'll start with a caret, and this will escape out the next character, which is the less than symbol. And then we'll type in href equals http:// and let's say that these images are coming from, let's say, www.images.com. And of course the file name is image underscore followed by a number, which of course we'll get from %no%. So we'll simply type in image underscore %no%, and I'll add the .jpeg on the end for the file extension, and then we'll use another caret followed by a greater than symbol to close the tag. Okay, now as this stands, this will produce links, but if you're all familiar with HTML, you'll probably know that it won't show any text on the page, so we need to show some linked text. So I'll add image underscore %no%, which will simply print the name image underscore followed by the number on the screen as a link that you can click on. Now I'll need to end the HTML tags with a caret and then a less than, followed by another caret to escape out our slash, followed by an A, followed by a caret, and followed by our greater than symbol. Okay, now this technically will do, but again, if you've ever done this before, you'll know that the result will be all over the page. So to make this look a little prettier, let's add a carriage return after each link. So again, we'll add a caret, a less than symbol, followed by BR, a caret, and then a greater than symbol. Okay, we're done. Now all we need to do is redirect the output to a file. So we'll do that, and we'll just append this to a file which we'll call image.html. Alright, we'll save this and give it a go. So we'll run op.bat, and we can see that it has run. Okay, now let's open up Windows Explorer and go to our C drive, followed by our scripts directory, and there's our file, image.html, so we'll open it up. And here you can see we have 100 links called image 1, 2, 3, and so on, all the way down the bottom here to 100. And if we hover our mouse pointer over one of the links, you can see that this is pointing to www.images.com/image_100.jpg in this case. Okay, in this video we've looked at operators. The operators you'll use when shell scripting are addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and modulus, as well as the less than, greater than, less or equal to, not equal to, greater or equal to, and equal to conditions. We've also covered how labels are useful so that you can go back to them later on using the goto command. In the next video, we'll talk more about the if statement we briefly touched on here. We'll see you there.